bed and I stumble to the kitchen, pour myself a cup of ambition, yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping, out on the streets and traffic starts jumping. The folks like me on a dial from 9 to 5, working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. Really getting by, it's no taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes I'm letting out to get me. They let you dream just to watch them shatter. You just a step on a 5-span's ladder, but you got dreams he'll never take away. In the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship will come in. The tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna roll your way. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living. Really getting by, it's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and you'll never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life and you think about it, don't you? It's a rich man's game, no matter what they call it. And you spend your life putting money in his wallet.
Good morning. I'm going to sit here till somebody tells me good morning back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Morning.
Somebody talk to me. How are you guys?
Doing well today.
Doing well. Good to see you, Bobby. I guess you're a black screen.
I know I'm trying to fix my video and
It's
some
all good. All
technical
right. Well,
challenges.
there you go.
Is that
All
me?
right. Well, let me get my screen up here and let's jump in. So what's going on in the market? I'm in Rockwall County, 282 active listings. That's a big, big, big number compared to what we've been seeing. So there's a lot of listings that just came on the market. I'm assuming the week after the holiday. I hope a lot of those are ours. We had 29 properties go active option, which is it's good. It's a good number. It's not as great as we had seen, but it's certainly we talked about this lull that kind of showed up in the month of June. It still feels like we're in a little bit of a lull. We're going to get to why I believe that is. But there's 47 pending, which is strong, and 47 closed in the last 7 days. Obviously, the 73 number was end of the month number. But 47 compared to 57 or 52 or 44 the weeks before seems to be holding in terms of like closings, right? If I jump to Collin County, big number active listing statuses, largest number on the screen. So all of a sudden, I'm 2 counties in, I got Rockwall and Collin, biggest active listing pop I've seen in quite a while. So tell me, are people looking to put their house on the market in the middle of the summer to catch the final wave of summer? Or why do you think this week we're seeing a big flux of listings? Let's keep going and then I'll ask that question. 210 option pending. Pretty consistent over the last couple of weeks. Certainly not the 240, 250s we were seeing in May, but we've been on a 6, 7 week consistent number in Collin County of properties going under contract. There's 308 pending.
Loading up all the vehicles.
Bobby, I'm going to mute you. 308 pending, which do I think it's good or bad? I still think we're kind of in a lull period, which, as I said, we're going to talk about here in a minute. And we had 300 close in Collin County, which is a big drop from what they were seeing. So one of the things that I'm curious about as we've been tracking on here, Jim and I, is we've kind of seen in the numbers that there was a little bit of a lull in the market in the month of June. We were expecting it to kind of bounce back. I don't know that we're going to see a fast bounce back, but remember, contracts are 30-day contracts. So we're starting to see a little disruption in the closings early in July here from what we were seeing in terms of activities through June. And like if you look here in May, we were putting 240, 250 properties under contract a week. And then it dropped down to 216 in the two teens, right? And we've been in the two teens 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row. So I think you're going to start to see that trickle into the sold numbers being a little softer for the next 45, 60 days. We'll see as we track. That's why we track this on a week-to-week basis. If I go to Dallas County, our largest county, same story. Big pop in listings coming on the market. 302 going option pending. There was 286, 329, 360s earlier in May down to the low 300s for a couple weeks here. There's 374 pending and then 397 sold, which is a low number for Dallas County. I don't believe there was any outside forces outside of just a softer June. If I go look at Henderson County out at the lake, they had 123. So that's a consistent listing coming on the market number for them. They had 15 go pending, option pending, and they're sitting with 9 pending and 14 closed in the last 7 days. The lake market's obviously a little bit different because I think they get a big pop at the beginning of the summer, and then they kind of hold through the summer. So 14 is kind of the same story I'm talking about in the other counties. But you guys are in the trench. Sherry, you're looking at the MCA office. Russell's doing compliance. Like, what's happening? What are you feeling in the marketplace? Jim, what you say?
It's it's getting tighter. That's the plain story of it. It's getting tight, Brett. And you know, I'm hesitant sometimes on just kind of getting out there and telling people, man, this market is, but it is rough. It's very rough right now. But here's the thing about it is this is the type of the market. This is the anti-2020 market that we've always talked about, the 21 market, where we were just out there and business was coming to us. This is a pure metric market.
Yep.
And you need to know what metric you're trying to hit. And I want to tell people right now, if you hit that conversation metric, you're going to be just fine. But it means you're going to feel the fatigue a little bit because you're going to have to work that much harder to hit some of those metrics.
Yeah. I think, every metric has an upside and a downside, right?
Yeah.
Let's take this inventory. We saw a big pop of listings coming on the market. The downside of that is if you have stale listings, you have more competition on the market right now.
Yeah.
The upside of that is if you've had buyers that have been looking in the marketplace, you got a whole lot of new inventory to go put them in and get them under contract, right? The same, a downside of that could be that the marketplace just got flooded with a little bit of extra supply. So supply and demand may have shifted a little bit in the last 7 days. I don't know that that necessarily changes in terms of negotiating ability or things like that. But one of the things that I want to bring up are two things. One is I think the calculating absorption rate has become a little bit of a lost art in real estate.
Yeah.
And I think absorption rate is going to be a really important metric to learn and understand and use going forward. And what I mean by that is, I think your sellers that might have been sitting on the market a little while, this could be a talking point to get some price reductions. And every neighborhood's going to have a different absorption rate. So you need it gives you a measure, a temperature on each neighborhood in that regard. And then the second thing, Jim, and then I'm curious your opinion. At this stage of the game, and what I mean this stage of the game, meaning this point in the year, I think it's very strategic to start pricing property in front of the market. If you can
Yeah.
get that price reduction, get your price a little more competitive than the competition, you're going to move your inventory. Because, Jim, the funny thing that always comes to us in leadership is, man, I'm priced right. It's just not selling.
Oh, you're
And
not.
well, there's kind of a misnomer because if it was priced right, it would sell. But um, the challenge is understanding absorption rate and getting your sellers to get a little aggressive and try to get them priced just in front of the market. What do you think?
Yeah, you got to know the days on the market right now. We've seen the spike in expireds. You got to know what those expireds are leaving the market at. And you've got to be doing these analysis on your listings I want to call it every 3 weeks right now. Because we saw this last fall, Brett, of we got into September, October, and it's hard to see it in the moment, but we had this shift in price, and especially in that sub 500 market, we saw about a 3 to 4% shift in price, which is really fast uh, for that market. And so you can very easily be looking at the last 6 months. I've got all sorts of metrics I've looked at over the last week that shows just a tremendous shift, especially right now we're looking at a big shift in the luxury market from December. And so if you were pricing out a house back in April, well, all of a sudden from December to March, there was a price shift down. And so if you're looking and trying to figure out, well, I priced it right with the market, you're not doing a continuous analysis on it. The other thing I would tell people right now is your showings depending. That number was staggering in June. We went from 6 showings to get to pending, which had been a high for the last 4 years. So 6 showings to get to a pending status, to where in June we averaged 16. Like that's huge. And so buyers are being more cautious. They're being more picky. They're kind of sitting on the fence. And that's just another conversation we needed to have with sellers and letting them know what the mentality of this buyer is and what to expect.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the other thing, Jim, is mortgage rates are moving around a lot right now.
Yeah, it's never,
And I think the buyer that was pre-qualified 60 days ago might
yeah,
experience a little bit of a payment shock when they go to put something under contract today and they're getting today's rate versus what it was 60 days ago. The rate on Friday came in at 6.64, which according to Logan at Housing Wire, that's the number, the magic number on the dime that starts to affect buyer demand. However, let me see if I can find the article.
While you're searching for that, you're right on. Because the last month we've been right around that 6.6 to 6.65. So it's been relatively stable, but that person that was pre-qualified back in April was looking at it 6.4. If it was March, you may have been closer to 6.
Yeah. So anyway, let's hit a couple FYIs and then talk.
Yeah.
So FYI, the NAR is coming out and saying, uh, really, we have a disclosure issue around office exclusives and pre-market listings and all these new categories that are coming at our industry. And they're putting some guidelines around disclosures. So I don't see Russell on the call, but this is really a Russell article that says, hey, we're going to have to probably tighten up how we talk about listings if we're going to have an office exclusive, which just means you probably posted on the Facebook group, hey, this listing's coming soon, or on Circle, or you stand up at team meeting and talk about it coming soon. Those are not as hotly debated around disclosures. Disclosures are hotly debated once you start marketing the property.
Yeah.
But I'm going to kick this one to Russell because NAR is doing a big broker duties around how to do disclosure around listings pre-MLS. Second FYI, Jim, which I kind of chuckle.
Yeah.
Most people, I think, but if you don't know, Kelley Blue Book was the gold standard for pricing used vehicles forever and ever and ever. Well, I've been hearing this for about 6 months that they're getting into the lead generation space in real estate. And it's hit Inman, so I threw it on here. Has anybody tried Kelley Blue Book leads? I've yet to find somebody. But I'm curious. So industry update, there you go. The other FYI is there is a 21st Century Road to Housing Act that is now in effect, which is the key items are basically centered around FHA loans and loan limits and stuff like that. But here's what I find interesting about this, Jim, is back in the Great Recession, coming out of the Great Recession, the government came out with first-time homebuyer tax credits and they created some government incentives to try to move the housing market faster. I still believe the typical first-time homebuyer is void of our marketplace right now. And this might be a first step of some government legislation to maybe move the housing market a little faster.
Yeah.
It's worthy of notating that it's mostly the FHA loans have created a change, right? So just keeping it in the FYI column, right? The other FYI is foreclosures are rising. Now, I want to caution you, this does not mean it's a big number. It just means the small number it was has increased. And you go down here, Texas is 14th in ranking of where the foreclosure filings, but it's still a pretty big number. But Texas is also a big state, right? So I don't know specifically where those are. I'm just giving you an FYI that we're seeing foreclosures rising a little bit. And I'll leave that there. Here's the article that I want to spend a little time on, Jim. So over the last 7 days, we've been on this roller coaster with this Iran conflict for 6 months now. And it sure looks like things took a turn for the worst over the last 7 days. And there's two comments to this. And Jim, I want your opinion. The first comment is it's probably going to raise mortgage rates. And we've seen that. We ended the week at 6.64. The second comment is buyer demand is staying positive, which is telling me the marketplace is being a little resilient to what's going on. even though the interest rate's climbing a little bit, the buyers aren't bailing. They're not leaving the market. But I do think if you saw Patty's comment in the chat, she said the title company is experiencing a large percentage of terminations. I actually think some of that, not all of that, but some of that is this mortgage rate effect where they were pre-qualified 60 days ago and then they go under contract and it's not the same rate they were pre-qualified on. What do you think?
Yeah. it- just going back to what I was saying a little bit ago about the pendings, the buyers are out in the marketplace right now and they're just taking longer. Even though rates are higher, I think we've seen a good drop in prices. Year over year, we're 2% down on the sub 600, but year over year. But going into the winter, December, November, we were down 7%. And so we've made a little bit of a comeback through the spring. And it's been the opposite with the luxury market, plus 800. We saw a rise going into December. And then all of a sudden, I ran the numbers last week. We've had a 15% drop from December to June on our median sales price. So there's been a big swing. So I think the prices have a lot to do with it. I think people can see it's a good time to buy right now. And we can deal with the mortgage rates later. I think as long as we don't start just swooning up to that 7% or right up there in that area, that's where I get a little iffy, and that's where we got to step it up a
Yeah,
notch.
I think we're cool cucumbers till we hit close to 7, right?
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned luxury. Uh, it's saying disruption is hitting the housing market. These homes are immune from the shift. Luxury home prices grew 4.7% in 3 months, ending in May. So pricing in luxury is still growing, right? Um, it takes 1.28 million nationwide to reach the top 1% of homes. I think that's probably consistent with our market. It may be closer to a million, but um, it looks like the luxury market is less rate sensitive, which makes sense because they're probably higher percentage of cash, right? Um, but the luxury market is not having the same experience that maybe the median home price market is having.
Yeah, that's the one that I said it's for our area, for our local area, that is shifted. Um, because going in through that December through March market, if we were to go from August to March, it was seeing a lot of growth. Once we hit March, that's where we really started seeing a pretty big drop off in the area. Um, we'd spend about 5 or 6 months of our median sales price up above a million, and then the last 2 months we've been right around 900, 925. So we've seen a little bit of a settle there, but I do think that that luxury market is exactly what they said. It's got some bulletproof to it. Um, it's a good market. It's just one of those that you have to understand what you're walking into and do an analysis where you're looking at the last month versus the last 6 months, and has there been this big change in the area?
For sure. Um, One good note is affordability has improved.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons affordability has improved is incomes have grown, wages have grown, and home prices by and large have slowed down close to flat. Now, you saw the luxury market was higher, but affordability is specific to the median home price of the area. And our median home price market is not having drastic price appreciation right now. It's flat to maybe 1 or 2%, right? So if incomes continue to grow and prices continue to hold, it is helping us with affordability. And I think that might bring some of this first time home buyer this starter home market back into play in the future, which feels like it's been out of play for a while.
Yeah, this was something that Gary kind of talked about back in February, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's just a matter of time if prices are going to hold, if they're going to be slightly down, and our wages keep going up, that this was going to start being a moot point, and he was right.
Yeah. I think it's like the pendulum. Once it swings, it
Yeah.
just takes a minute to get back to normal, right?
Yeah, that's such a hard thing in all these markets, Brett. I always go back to thinking about whenever we had the big drought. What was that like back in 2008, 2009 around here? And I was walking around with somebody with the Parks and Rec, and he just kind of shook his head. He goes, "Man, I promise if we just have one good week of rain, it'll fix it all." And I thought he was nuts. And sure enough, we had one good week of rain, and all of a sudden the lakes were full. Uh, in the moment it can feel like you're up against the wall fighting this uphill battle, but all it takes are these little changes in a short amount of time, and it can really shift for you.
Yeah. I mean, the reality, Jim, is a great agent controls their own reality in spite of whatever's given them, right?
Yeah.
And I've always used the analogy of surfing, right? Like if we go to the beach and the beach has waves, and most people try to body surf and they just let the wave carry them to the shore. But some people grab a surfboard and create their own reality, their own fun with whatever the wave is giving them. And that's really what the real estate market is. It's the wave. But if you go create your own reality by doing your activities, focused on what you're doing, having the right conversations with your seller of, hey, this is what absorption rate's looking like right now. My opinion is we need to price ahead of the market because the market is starting to slow down a little bit. Um, those conversations are gold in real estate, and you can move some real estate faster. Somebody's going to have their best year ever this year. Not everybody, but some people are. And it's just because they focused on the right things and the right conversations and made it happen, right?
Yeah, that conversation, that sentence you just had right there, it's so simple, and everybody should be using it, Brett. It's a very powerful one because I guarantee you there's 15 other agents that are going on these listing appointments saying kind of the opposite. And they're not doing a service to the seller, and the seller can tell when somebody really knows the market, even if it's telling them the opposite of what they want to hear. That that right there is the whole name of the game.
Yeah. I saw Marty put in the comment, and Marty, if you come off mute, you're saying contracts are falling out because of contingent contracts?
Yeah, I think I've talked to a couple of title companies that have had this conversation, and I've seen it on our team. I have a listing right now that's contingent on a purchase. It's a contingent, and we're talking about pricing and days. And we have a seller that doesn't want to extend, even though the property has a lot of days on market. So, I mean, I've got the buyer for the property. The agent on the other side that has the listing knows that this is their buyer. We just need time to get the buyer's property sold. So it's just one of those things where people aren't being patient with what the market is delivering them right now and kind of where we are in the market. So people aren't patient because they need to make a move, or they want to, or whatever it is, they lose confidence, I guess, in their buyers. They won't extend the contracts that are contingent because the buyer contract's not selling, which is their prerogative to do, but then they're canceling and terminating the contracts. A lot of the title companies, 2 different title companies, have told me that. So that's a reality, and I'm experiencing it personally with a transaction, that everybody is a willing party other than the seller is losing patience. And I get it. They're allowed to use patience, but I keep talking to the agent on the other side and saying, but this is your buyer. Days on market and everything indicate that you don't have another buyer out there by terminating this contract or allowing it to expire. So I just think that there's some of that. And then we've done quite a bit of calling and whatnot on our team with expireds and relisted several properties that have expired, trying a different tactic, a different price point, different whatever, just trying to do it a little different. And we've listed several expireds recently. So I think these sellers out there, they want to be listed and they want to sell.
Yeah.
They want to.
Well, that's a good point. It's making me think. We saw the influx of listings this week. Are those the expireds that all expired at the end of July or at the end of June relisting?
Yeah, I think
Could
there
be.
is. I think there is some of that because I even see it like I've looked at so many listings just running comps and going on different appointments in the past like week and a half. And if you'll look, the property's 2 days on market, but continual days are 78 or 120 because they didn't even keep it off market long enough. So either it was an unintentional expire, like they just didn't notice that it was going to expire, the agent, or it was intentional to allow it to expire to then turn around and relist with a new front photo, maybe a different price. There's a lot of that. That's what I'm seeing.
I'm
So
just I'm curious, in the marketplace today, are sellers motivated to take contingent contracts?
well, I think they're trying it.
Yeah.
If they haven't had other offers, I don't think they're
Yeah.
motivated if they're 5 days on market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most certainly if they've been sitting there for a little bit.
So I think if I was a listing agent today and I was going to take a contingent contract, I would actually have a pricing conversation on the buyer's listing with that agent, and that would be information I would want
Yep.
around before I accepted a contingent contract, because I think
Sure.
some sellers aren't being realistic and it's actually damaging my contingent contract. And I might even be as aggressive to say, hey, do you have a price reduction strategy? Do you have a schedule? And maybe have a few more questions instead of just saying, well, let it be contingent, because price is everything in this market right now. What do you think of that, Jim?
Brad, I couldn't have said it better. You got to know what you're going up under contract with. So absolutely do all that homework. And yeah, you just had a hard time selling your house and you're going to go contingent with another seller, and you know it's not necessarily just you, it's a market thing. So absolutely know what that plan is and have these bold conversations that you probably never had before of what is the strategy. It's great.
All right, on we go. Happy Monday.
Have a good one, Brett.
Bye.